Well, hello there. We're back,
Hi, it's the Charlie and Linda Bloom Show.
and you're here, and we're here. And today we're going to talk about intimacy. And we're going to talk particularly about a couple of aspects of it. One is we're going to talk about what it actually is, because when people hear that word, they have their own interpretation of what that means. So we're going to talk about what we understand that to mean. And we're also going to talk about how to set up and create intimate experiences, and why we don't often do what we need to do to have that happen, and how we can become more mindful of when the need for that comes up for us, and how to approach our partner. Okay, so
We want to
partner,
define terms.
what do you think?
I think we need to define terms because when we use the term intimacy, people chain in their mind to sexual intimacy. And what we're speaking about today is emotional intimacy.
Which also could be accompanied by
Yes,
sexual
that's
intimacy
a winning
too.
combo. But we want to emphasize emotional intimacy because a lot of people feel like they would like to have more emotional intimacy and they're not having enough of it in their life to thrive. And we have learned a lot personally and with many of the couples that we've been seeing over our 40 decades plus.
Well, not actually. That would be 400 years.
Oh,
it's not 400 years.
Four decades.
It's only like 20
Not
decades.
40 decades.
It's only been 200
4 decades.
years.
So I want to tell you that we've seen this phenomenon show up many times, where one person, and it's not always the woman either, who would like to have more intimacy, and they sort of are withering on the vine a little bit. They're not having as much emotional intimacy as they would like to have. And when our lives get busy, when we're raising kids, when we're active in our career, when we're busy with the church or political organizations, we can get really distracted, and some of the sweetness of the connection between the partners can start to be on the back burner. So we want to define the term intimacy as in-to-me-see. When you look it up in the dictionary, it says innermost. And we want to emphasize that when you have an intimate relationship with another person, you're picking them and also making yourself available, that they get to see your inner life. They get to hear about your inner life. They get to hear about your deeper feelings, longings, mistakes, magnificent failures, your wildest dreams, and what has meaning in your life, the kind of thing that you wouldn't necessarily talk about with other people. This is just for your special intimates. And this is one of the main things that sets the good relationships apart from the great ones. Some of you listening know that we wrote a book about the secrets of great marriages, and we interviewed 50 couples that had exemplary relationships. And they were so successful because they really showed up, they paid attention, they risked being vulnerable with each other, and they exposed their inner life to each other. They were able to create safety such that they could really be themselves and be transparent and be vulnerable to be seen. So that's a piece of work. That's the part that doesn't come naturally, to create that environment that gives rise to a deep, intimate connection.
So you might want to take a moment and see if you can recall an experience that you have had with someone. May or may not, if you are in a relationship now, it could be that person, it could be somebody with whom you have experienced a meaningful connection. And see if you can bring to mind what that experience, what was going on then, what that experience felt like. What kinds of feelings you had, what kinds of thoughts you were having, what the quality of experience was when you were experiencing what you would consider to be an intimate connection. And just see if you can get a sense of what characterized that experience, and see if you can maybe even create a piece of that experience within yourself right now.
Mhm.
Because so much of what intimacy has to do with is the thoughts and the feelings that we're having in the moment that we're having it. And sometimes, we can actually bring forth some of those same qualities when we really presence ourselves in a memory that is vivid for us. So that's really what we're talking about, is whatever kind of experience you're having right now that you are bringing into your mind and your body, that's really what we're talking about. And intimacy is not a luxury or something that it's nice to have, that is something that we can be lucky enough to have, or some people have more of it than others do. But there's actually a good bit of intentionality that goes into creating intimate experiences, and it comes with an awareness of the desire for connection.
Mhm.
And so many of us have such full lives that even when we are not experiencing as much intimacy as we would really like to have, we're so busy that we don't even notice that. But we don't notice the deficiency in intimacy that's there, because we're so consumed with pursuing other responsibilities and commitments and taking care of business and getting the kids to their soccer practice and getting to work and handling housework, and all of those things. When we're that busy, we don't even notice whether there's something missing. But what we do notice is the symptoms of what I'm referring to as what we call intimacy deficiency, intimacy IDD, intimacy deficiency disorder. And that is not something that comes out of the DSM-5, although it may be in it. It's a term that we invented because we experience so many couples who have a deficiency of intimacy in their relationship. And what are some of the symptoms, Linda, that people experience
I hear grumbling
when
in
they
my
don't
mind.
hear enough about it?
I think a lot of people hear grumbling in their mind, like, this is all there is? Or they're wistful about the falling in love stage. When we were together and when we were in discovery with each other, we spent so much time getting to know each other, and now things are sort of flat and they're getting stale and it's a little bit boring. And I think life can just be made up of the to-do list rather than putting it aside and really connecting with each other. So feeling bored or feeling irritated, and it tends to show up as because the other person won't take the time. And that's not a responsible point of view, because really it takes both people being intentional and committed to carving out of stone the time when you just let the rest of the world stop and you turn on the computer and you don't answer the phone and you no screens, and you designate time to be together to head off at the past, the irritability or the feeling of flatness and stale and the wistfulness of the past when things were more exciting, when the relationship felt like an adventure.
I know that this probably doesn't apply, what I'm about to say probably doesn't apply to anybody listening to us now, but there are some relationships in which one person is aware of wanting more of it and the other person isn't aware of it, or they really are maybe not particularly open to the idea, or they're preoccupied with something else, or they're not comfortable with it. So what about in those very, very rare situations?
Actually,
where
it's more common than not that one person wants a lot more intimacy than the other person. So this would be a good opportunity for me to tell you about Ellen and Joe. And their names are disguised because they're a couple that we work with. And Ellen was the one who was really feeling a lot of sadness about not having more emotional intimacy with Joe. And she made up her mind that she's going to do something about it. She's going to take responsibility. She'd step into the leadership role, and she would appeal to Joe's enlightened self-interest. And so she said, Joe, something bothering me, and I really want you to hear me because this is important to me. And she was highly responsible about the way she brought the topic up. And she said, let me know when would be a good time for us to talk, because I'm feeling kind of disconnected from you, and I really want us to talk about this issue because I want to be closer to you.
And Joe said something like, oh, okay, sure, yeah, when? Like 2 years from now? It's not like we have a lot of time for this.
Yeah, and Joe was not wildly enthusiastic about having this conversation and addressing it. And he said, well, you brought it up at a not good time for me. I want to watch the football game. And to Ellen's credit, she said, we don't have to talk about it now. I'm just mentioning it for you to be thinking about when would be a good time. And she needed to broach the topic to Joe about 6 times before she really got his buy-in. And to Ellen's credit, she stayed in responsible mode. She was getting a little frustrated, but she paused to reflect and got the tone out of her voice. And she reached out to him again. And she said, well, next Saturday, you won't be working, and I'm willing to skip my gym workout so that we could have Saturday morning and have a few hours together. And when she was willing to do that, because Joe knew that her workouts at the gym were really important to her, and that was the day that she did her biggest workout of the week, he started to pay attention that this might be really, really great importance to her if she was willing to sacrifice that.
Oh, wait a minute. What if he was like some guys?
Yeah.
And he couldn't do Saturday, or he couldn't even really seem to find any time on that day to do it, and maybe some other time.
Well, then she needs to appeal to Joe's enlightened self-interest.
What does that mean?
And let him know that she really hurts.
So what does enlightened self-interest
mean? And that
mean?
she's going to be a happy camper if they have this conversation and if it bears fruit. Okay. If they really start having some designated time, that she's feeling some unhappiness. So when she brought it to his attention, she said, I'm worried about us.
Yeah.
And he went on red alert. Is our relationship in trouble? Because every couple has, some friends of theirs that their relationship went to hell in a handbasket, and they ended up going separation and divorce statistics. So he got a little panicky in that moment. She said, no, we're not in trouble now. But if we don't put the correction in some months down the line, or 6 months down the line, or a year down the line, we may have veered off the road so much that we're a wreck, like some other couples we know. I think that we need to be proactive, take out a little insurance here, and really put the correction in sooner rather than later. We're not in trouble now, but I think we could be if we keep putting this off. And then she got his attention. She did not blame him. She did not shame him. She appealed to him. This is important to me. And will you take the time to actually address this with me and see what we can create together?
Okay.
He wasn't easy.
Yeah. So she got his attention.
She got his attention.
And she was real careful not to make him the problem, not to blame him, not to hold it as his responsibility, but that she talked about how we have to do something here. We are at risk of having some problems if we don't address this. So she got his attention.
In fact, she said, I'm as busy as you are. Right. This isn't your fault. I have a lot of responsibility here. I'm distracted with the kids and work.
So what happens after she gets his attention? Then what do? She's got his attention. Now what?
Yeah. Once he understood how important it was to her, Joe said, I'm in. On Saturday, you skip your gym workout. I will show up, and we have a firm agreement. We're going to talk about this.
All right. So let's fast forward.
But it took her 6 overtures till she got to his buy-in.
So
He was diverting.
Wait a minute. Can I just finish? What happens after she gets his attention? Saturday morning comes,
Yes.
right? Well, wait a minute. Saturday morning comes and Joe shows up. I'm Joe. All right, I'm here.
He's bringing the body.
I'm here.
Yeah,
So
he's keeping his agreement.
So now what? What do we do now?
She got to appeal to him again.
So you're here.
Abby Ellen.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is so important to me, and I don't want us to hurry this. I want us to have a real thorough discussion about how essential and important this is. And
All right, I'm listening. Go ahead.
I want you to join me. Okay, so it's so important to me that our life is not all about responsibility. It's not all about, making a buck and paying the bills and who's going to pick up the cleaning and who's going to get John from soccer. I really want the romantic aspect of our relationship where we really talk to each other about things that have meaning. I want to schedule that in, and I don't want a week to ever go by. Really what I want is every day. I realize that might be a tall order. We go weeks where we don't have a meaningful connection.
So you're saying those other things aren't important? Because I see them as being very important.
They're really important.
Yeah.
I just don't want them to fill up every little nook and cranny of 100% of our life. I miss it. Don't you miss those
it would be
long
great to
talks
have more leisure time, but I mean, let's get real here. We're not single. We have kids. We have other responsibilities now that we didn't have in those days when we could do all that stuff. I mean, it was nice. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying I don't like it, but where's the time going to come from?
I hear you. And if you and I put our intentions together and our commitments together, we will carve it out of stone. Look at all the things that we've accomplished. We got this big, beautiful house. Kids are turning out pretty good. I think that this is just an essential aspect of what I want our life to be about on a regular basis. And I know that maybe this is the road less traveled. Maybe a lot of couples don't do this. Maybe they don't carve it out of stone. And maybe that's why they're unhappy or going the way of separation and divorce statistics. Some couples with kids and careers are doing this.
So this that you keep mentioning, just tell me if I'm wrong. I'm trying to get a clear understanding of what this is. So this that you want more of is what you refer to sometimes as connection.
I feel connected to you right now. We're exploring something that's really important to me, and you're showing up for it and trying to understand why I got so much distress and perturbation about this. I'm worried about us. I don't want us to continue going in this direction where we're just business partner or roommates, and I want us to really be emotionally connected. I dig you, and I want to know about your inner life. I want to know what lights you up and what turns you off and what you're dreaming of that we may not have manifested yet.
Well, sometimes what I'm dreaming of is just like a day off or a day that I can sleep late, sometimes that's really what I want more of. But wait, I understand what you're saying.
I'm not saying you have to give that up.
And I'm not saying that what you want isn't a good thing. It is a good thing.
I'm glad to hear you say that. I didn't think maybe you even valued it like I do.
I just have some trouble trying to see where we can fit that in to our busy life.
We spend a fair amount on babysitters during the week so we can work. This is as important as anything we do during the week. I'd be willing to pay a babysitter or ask my mom if she would take care of the kids sometime on the weekend so we could have some time alone that wouldn't be structured and wouldn't be full of the to-do list. We could do whatever the hell we want. Get wild. Wouldn't that be something?
I'm in for that. That's fine with me.
I think it would be great for you. I think it would be great for me. I know it would be great for me. I think it would be great for both of us. I think we'll add life to our years and years to our life.
Yeah, I think it would be good for us. It would feel good. It would be nice. I guess I've been kind of thinking in terms of, well, we can have experiences like this after we get other stuff.
When the kids are grown and graduated, and when we retire, I'm not waiting
No.
that long. I want to do it now. Why should we wait?
Yeah.
Are you in this with me? Are you going to throw in with me around this? I think this is essential.
I think it would really make a difference.
Do you remember how many hours we spent before we had kids just talking and talking? We had so much to say.
Yeah, well, we talk now, but it's always talk about handling the stuff around the house and all that, and who's going to handle what and picking up this and that and who, and so we talk, but I don't feel like we really
a different kind of talk.
Communicate.
I'm
we don't really
talking about really getting down.
Well, it's like that other stuff that we don't ever get done with that other stuff.
It never gets done. So we just have to leave that on the shelf for a while intentionally, and then there's a few hours where we're just with each other. Yeah, and I don't want you sacrificing your free time or your sleeping in or your solitude time. I know you got some introverts need to go off and have your alone time. I'm talking both and. I don't want you to be a big sacrificing martyr. But don't you see this really could be really good for us, both of us?
Yeah.
Okay,
right.
You and me, we got a deal.
Yeah.
Let's shake on it. And tell me about the frequency with which you can get behind this. You know me, I'm an emotional intimacy monger. I can do it every day.
We'll talk about that when we get together on Saturday.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Now, we weren't play acting. We were actually just kind of repeating a dialogue that we used to have.
Uh-huh.
We don't have that particular talk anymore, but we've had our own version of that a number of times. And if you related to that in some way,
Yeah.
I just want to reassure you that you don't have to feel like it's hopeless. We're never going to get on the same page on this, because Linda and I had been on very, very different pages, and because we were both willing to be more open and more respectful and non-blaming.
It took a while.
We were able to and you have to have these conversations or these kinds of conversations more than once, because there are conflicting commitments that we have, and that often takes some time to work things out. But when there's, like she said, when there's an intention and you're both clear about that intention and you're both sharing the same commitment, it gets handled.
I want to just speak a little bit about why the person who has some resistance to having the emotional relating may be having that resistance. Sometimes some unpleasant and painful things come up. Sometimes some scary things come up, some shadowy things. Sometimes memories from the past, maybe traumas from family of origin, maybe some unpleasant prior adult relationships with people before you even knew your partner, or there may be some unfinished business with this partner. And if you stop the busyness of your life to get down to what's important, some of that stuff is likely to rear its head. And that's one of the reasons that people avoid emotionally interactive, deep communications with each other. But if you can find your courage and lean into the challenge of dealing with whatever feelings and needs come up in those times that you're together, that is what will jettison your relationship up into the golden range. Because when we did that research with the Secrets of Great Marriages, with those highly successful, exquisitely happy couples, they had so much feeling of safety and adventure and security and novelty and peace of mind and excitement. They were champs in both domains because they had been masterful in taking time. And well, they had big careers too. They raised kids too, but they took time to be with each other in a way that was real and authentic relating. And that's what lifted their relationship up into the really happy zone. So we're trying to drive this, this fact, this research finding home. If you're longing for a great relationship, this is a direct path to go there.
Yeah. So one of the distinctions that we made in our little dialogue was the distinction between talking and communicating.
Yeah.
And a lot of couples say, or one of the partners will say, we talk all the time. I mean, we spend plenty of time talking, and yes, that may be true, but the question is, what are you talking about? What is the quality of the talking? Is it connecting the two of you at a deeper level, or is it simply exchanging information and directives about responsibilities and what we have to do and what has to be handled? Communicating is a form of using language, and not just verbal language, but body language and all kinds of ways to express something that brings the two of you a deeper sense of connection and understanding. Talking is simply exchanging information.
Mm-hmm.
So we make that distinction because those two different forms of dialogue produce very different results.
Mm-hmm. So if you take this on with a commitment, the person who feels the need for it more frequent than the other has more responsibility to cause the times when you carve out a stone, some time to be together and stay with the meaningful conversation rather than the to-do list. Even if it gets a little edgy, even if it's a little difficult to handle the incompletions, to deal with the feelings, the fears, the pain, anything that unpleasant might be there, so that you can break through. We're talking about breakthroughs for couples to the joy zone. So we wish that for you. We're wrapping up this episode. We have some good news to report to you. We just found out today that we have surpassed the 6 million hits on our blog site. This is with Psychology Today. We've been posting blogs on Psychology Today for years.
7 years.
7 years. And the people who are our community following us on blogs have read our blogs, and the hits have come up to the 6 million pass mark. So we're delighted to be here with you on Facebook. Please tell your Facebook friends about our free samples, our offering about intimacy today. If you haven't signed up to be on our email list, we've got a wonderful free ebook for you called Going for the Gold. And next week, the topic that we're going to be speaking with you about is me or we.
And we'll leave it up to you to figure out what that means. I don't know. I haven't found out yet.
Thanks for tuning in and listening. And we're wishing you lots of emotional intimacy with the people who are most important to you.
Adios.